Good evening. We're holding in Gemara Gittin Daf Nun Zayin. We're in the middle of the Sugya, discussing the Chorban Beis, and we discussed the whole story of Bar Kamsa and Kamsa at length. And Rabbi Yechanan on Daf Nun Hey Amud Beis listed three things that brought different Piranias and different Chorban. And after the Gemara elaborated on the story of Kamsa and Bar Kamsa, now the Gemara is going to discuss the next story. The Gemara says, we're holding, again, Nun Zayin and Aleph. It's about 15 lines from the top. Atarnagela v'atarnagolta chorav tur malka. It says, because of the story of the Tarnagel and Tarnagelis, so Tur Malka, which literally means the mountain of the king, Tur Malka was destroyed. Now, why was it because of the Tarnagel and Tarnagelis, Tur Malka was destroyed? So the Gemara says they have a nihige ki havu mapke chasana v'chalsa. The minig is that when a chas and a kala got married, they would put before the chas and the kala mapke kamayu tarnagela v'tarnagolta. They would place, when the chas and kala would go down, let's say to the chuppah, so they would place in front of the chas and kala a tarnagel and a tarnagelis. Kalemar, or they're trying to tell them that pru uruvu katarnagelim, you should have children, you should multiply and have children like the tarnagelim. Now, yom echad have a kacholiv gunda d'remoy. One day, when a wedding was taking place, there was like a troop of Roman soldiers, and shaklinu minayo. The Roman soldiers took away this tarnagel and tarnagelis from the chasana. So the Yidden got so upset, and naflu alayu ma'achunu. They attacked the soldiers, and as the Mefarshim say, they killed the soldiers. So also Amruleh the Caesar. So they told the Caesar, the Roman Caesar, what exactly occurred, the whole story. And they said, Mardu Bach Yudoi, the Jews are rebelling against you. So also Alayu, the Caesar, came to wage war on the Jews of Turmalka of Haramelech. Now the Gemara says, have a Behu Hahu Bar Drema. There was a person in Turmalka who was a very, very strong, very tall person, and his name was Bar Drema. He was very strong, very mighty, and have a kofitz Milo v'kotel Behu. He was able to jump a meal, which was like 2,000 amas. He was able to jump and kill the soldiers of Rome. Shakle Caesar letogi v'oisva aro. So the Caesar took his throne, his keser, and what did he do? And he put it on the ground. And this was in a way of like it was showing some anova, showing that he wanted his tefillah to be mekabel by Hashem. Now, Omar, this Caesar said, "Riboine de alma kuli." He says, Master of the universe, if it's pleasing in front of you, do not give me over. In other words, he was speaking about himself, about the Caesar, to this very big guy, this Ben Durham guy. Now, what happened is Hashem listened to the Caesar's davening, and actually Pumela Badrema. And this Ben Durham, he stumbled with his words, and he said of Amr, and he says, Hali'ata alikim zenachtanu v'leiseitze alikim b'tzivaisenu. So he says that he said the words that, have you not rejected us, O Hashem, so that you go not forth, O Hashem, with our hosts. So in other words, he was saying about Hashem that we don't really need your help, and we're going to rely on our own strength. He was bragging about it. So because of that, he spoke chutzpahdik to the Eibishter, and Hashem listened to the tefillah of the Kesar. The Gemara asks, David Nami Omer Hachi. David HaMelech also spoke this way. David said in Sefer Tehillim, if you look in Kapitel Samach, Pasuk Yud Beis, David HaMelech also spoke this way. So why is he getting punished and saying how? Because he said Haliyata likim zanachtan of say tzelikim b'tzeiseinu. David HaMelech also spoke this way. So the Gemara answers and says, David Asmui Komasni. Over there, David HaMelech was saying this in the lashon of Tmiyah. In other words, was he saying that you think that Hashem forsaken us? Like it says over there, you think that Hashem forsaked us? But Ben Doron was speaking in a way of like that Hashem for sure, that in other words, he could wage war and he doesn't really need the help of Hashem. David HaMelech was saying this in he was uttering this as a question. And Ben Doron said it more as a statement. Now, what happened? All the Beis Akisi, this Bar Drema went to the bathroom, and also Dreikona Shamte Le Kar Kesha. A snake came and started like pulling out his intestines. Noch Nafshe, and this Bar Drema, he died. So Amar, the Kesar said, Nisa, since there was a miracle that occurred over here, so Hazimna Ish Bikinu, I'm going to leave the Yidden alone. And Shafkinu v'Ozol. This case, since his tefillah was answered, so he said that I'm going to leave the Eden alone, and he went on his way. And what happened was, Dakur, the Yidden were jumping from Simcha v'Ochel v'Shosu. They were drinking and eating and drinking. Adliku shtoge ad ischazi b'lyene de gushpainka parachik milah. And they lit candles, so much candles, until with the light of the candles, they're able to see the gushpanka, like this, the signature, the signet of the ring of the king. Now, Omar, the Kesar said, Michti kachadu bi Yehudai. So the Kesar said to himself that the Jews are rejoicing that they think that they were victorious over me. The fact that I did not hurt them, I didn't damage them. So what happened? Hadar also alayu. So he went back to wage war against the Yidden. Our Ravasi says, Tlas Mea Alfi Shlifa Saifa Ailu Turmalka. There was 300,000 soldiers that brought swords to enter into Turmalka. The Kotlu Ba Tlosa Yema Tlosa Lilvisa, and they killed B'meshach 3 days and 3 nights. They killed because Turmalka was on a mountain and there was slopes from one side and to the other side. So for 3 days they were killing people. Bahakisa Hilula Vichingi, and the other side of the mountain they were dancing and Hanu Bahani, and they did not know, the one side that was celebrating did not know on the other side, because there were so much cities and populations over there in Turmalka, that even though there was one side of the mountain that were getting killed, the other side of the mountain was so big, and they were rejoicing as well. Okay, so now the Gemara says, the Gemara explains from the pasuk like this. It says in pasuk, Bila Adonai v'Chamal es kol ne'os Yaakov. So the pasuk says that Hashem has swallowed up without pity, as kol ne'os Yaakov, all the inhabitants of Yaakov. Now, what does that mean? So he explains like this: Ki also Ravin Omar Rabbi Yechanan. When Ravin came from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, he said in the name of Rabbi Yechanan, he said, Ne'os Yaakov, when the pasuk says the habitations of Yaakov, Elu Shishim Riboy, this is the 600,000 cities that Yanei HaMelech had in Har HaMelech, in Tur Malka. As Rasi said, that the 600,000 cities Yanei HaMelech had in Har HaMelech. Cholachas v'achas hayoloi ki yotze Mitzrayim, and all of each one of them had a population as great as the numbers of those who left Mitzrayim. Chut mishali shahiyu behen kiflaim ki yotze Mitzrayim, except for so it had three of those cities, the populations of which was double the number of those who left Mitzrayim. Now, Eluhain, who were the three cities that were double the populations? Kfar Bish, Kfar Shichlayim, and Kfar Decharia. These are three cities: Kfar Bish, Kfar Shichlayim, and Kfar Decharia. Now, where it says Kfar Bish, why was it called? Literally means the village which is bad. Why was it called that? The Yohavi Beisa Lushbiza, because they would not allow people, guests, to come into their city. So it's called Kfar Bish, the city of bad, because they didn't allow guests. Kfar Shichelayim, what does it mean? The village of Shichelayim. Shahoisa Parnasasan mean Shichelayim, because their parnasa, how did they make the parnasa? Was like out of a type of cress, it was a type of vegetable, very, very low food. Now, Kfar Dichraya, why was it called? Literally, Dichraya means males. It was called the village of males. Why do they call this the village of males? What's the gnus about it? So Rav Yechon says, because the ladies over there, they would first have male, they would have scharim, and then they would have a nekeva, and then then they would stop getting, they would stop having children. And there are many different explanations of what this means. One of the explanations is the Gemara in Baba Basra says that somebody who has a bas tchila is a siman yofa lebanim. So these people, they never had a bas tchila, so there's no siman brach over there. Fine. So that's again, that's what it means when we say the pasuk of Bila Adonai v'Chama is called Ne'es Yaakov. So we said Ne'es Yaakov, these are the 600,000 cities that Yana Melech had, and they all had a population like the amount of Yidden that went out from Mitzrayim, except for three that had double. And we explained these are the Kfar Bish, Kfar Shichlayim, and Kfar Dichraya. Now, Omar Ula said, I myself saw this place after the Churban, and even 600,000 reeds, there was no space for even 600,000 reeds to be over there. And nevertheless, we see that in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, they were able to have 600,000 cities, great cities, in this shetach of this land. The Gemara says further, this Tzedeki told Reb Chanina, Shakuri me shakiritu, that you guys are shakranim, because you're saying that you had 600,000 cities in Tur Malka, and if you just measure the city, there's not even enough space to have 600,000 reeds. So Reb Chanina told this Tzedeki, Eretz Tzvi Ksiv Ba. It says about Eretz Yisrael that it's the land of a deer. What does it mean? What's the connection to a deer? So Matzvi Zeh. So just like just as this Matzvi Zeh ein eri maxikas psari, just like the skin of a deer cannot hold its flesh, because after the animal is skinned, its hide shrinks. So too after Yisrael, so too Eretz Yisrael was man sheyeshun aleh ravcha. So when it's settled, it expands. But when it's not settled, then Gamda, it shrinks. So how is it that today it's a small? Is because if Lacheret had a very high population, how could it have shrunk? So he says the same thing. It's Eretz Tzvi that just like a tzvi that the air cannot be mastered the basar, and it shrinks, so to Eretz Yisrael, as man of the Yidden are settled in there, so then it becomes Zerafcha. But when they're not settled over there, then then that place shrinks. The Gemara now tells over about another city that also was destroyed. And as we're going to learn, it was a city that was destroyed because they did not um, actually have proper avelos on the Churban Yerushalayim. So the Gemara says, Rav Menyemi bar Chilkiah, Rav Chilkiah bar Tevia, Rav Huna bar Chia, have Yasvi Gabi Hadadi. These three people, Rav Menyemi bar Chilkiah, Rav Chilkiah bar Tevia, and Rav Huna bar Chia, they were once sitting together. Amri, and they said, if there is someone who had heard anything about Kfar Sechanya of Mitzrayim, which was in the region, let him come and relate. So one of them began discussing and said, there was once a Maisa involving somebody who was engaged, a man and woman that were engaged midday Raisa, and they were taken captives from Goyim. And later they married off each other. They married them off to each other. The Goyim married off these two people to each other. So the woman said to the man, so the woman said to the man, please do not touch me, as I don't have a ksuba from you, and it's also to live together without a ksuba. And the Gemara says, and until the day that he died, this man did not touch this woman. And when he died, without having touched her, Omar Lahen, so the woman said to the Chachamim, Siptu Lazeh, she really eulogized my husband. Because he conquered his passion, his Yitzhahara, more than Yosef. Why? In the case of Yosef, it was only for a very short time that he had to overpower his Yitzhahara and resist Potiphar's wife. And the high called Yem, whereas this man struggled his passion every single day. Yosef lav b'chodamita, v'hai b'chodamita. Yosef was not in the bed with Potiphar's wife, whereas this man was in one bed with his wife. Yosef lav ishtehu v'ishtei. As well, Yosef, this wasn't Yosef's wife, whereas with this man, she was his wife. As we said, they already were Mekudashas. So we see from this story, this is the we see this. The Gemara brings the saying of three Chachamim to tell over the tzidkis of the Gittin in that city. So the first story we said is that there was a Maisa that people were engaged. They were Nishba ben Agoyim, and they had such Mesiras Nefesh to live by Torah, and she said that it's also to live without a ksuba, and she refused to have any relations, and she told the man not to have any relations with her, and the Taka didn't. So you see the kedusha of that city. Okay. Now the Gemara relates another story. Pasach idach. One of the other chachamim, because we said there's Rav Menyeni, Bar Chilkiah, Rav Chilkiah bar Tuvia, and Rav Huna bar Chia. And they said if there's somebody who can tell over about Kfar Schanya of Mitzrayim, if they were good people or bad people, so they should say. So the first guy got up and said how good they are. Pasach idach, another chacham got up and said, Maisa, there was a story, and V'amdu arboim moedius. So there was a story that the market price of 40 sa of grain stood at one dinner. Nechsar shar moedia achas. So then the rate went down one sa, so that only 39 sa were sold for a dinner. So Batku, they checked, Matzu avu b'nai shabo al nairam rasa b'yom kippurim. They found out that in the city there was a father and son who had relations with a nairam rasa on Yom Kippur. And they brought these people to Beis Din and they stoned them. And then the rate returned to its former level. So you see that these people are very, very halakha people. They do the right thing. Yet another chacham began his remarks and said, there was a story involving a man who set his eyes. He decided that he wants to divorce his wife, but he knew that the ksuba that he made up, he has to pay her is a lot of money. So what did he do? Halach v'zimin as shishavinam v'echilon v'hishkon. He went, he invited his friends, gave them food and drink, and shikron v'shkiva mitachas. He made them drunk, and he lay his friends and his wife in one bed. He set them up. Now, what happened? He then brought the white of an egg, which looked like zera, and he placed it on the sheet between them. And then he stood witnesses over them so they could offer testimony. And he went to Beis Din claiming that the wife was mezana. So if she's mezana, she doesn't get her ksuba. So then the Gemara says, there was once there was a elder of the disciples of Shammai Hazakin, and his name was Bavim and Puta. And he said to them, that I have a tradition received from Shammai Hazakin, leaving Beis. So he says like this. He said that egg white on a bed sheet contracts and hardens when heated by fire, and semen is absorbed in the sheet by the fire. So they checked and they found, in accordance with his statement, that the substance on the sheet was not zara, but rather it was leaven, it was the white of the egg. So that they brought the husband to Beis Din, and they gave him malchus and made him pay his wife the marriage contract in full. So we see another story how the people in the city they always doing the right thing according to halacha. So now the Gemara says, So now, if you're explaining that there were such tzaddikim, so why was their town destroyed? So you know why it was destroyed? Because they did not mourn on the Churban of Yerushalayim. Like it says, Simchus Yerushalayim v'gilu ba kol eiva sisu ita moshe is kol hamisablim malo, which means that rejoice with Yerushalayim and be glad with her. All you that love her rejoice with joy with her. All that did mourn of her. So this pasuk teaches us that a person who mourns Yerushalayim will rejoice in its building. But somebody who, like the Gemara in Tanya says, Kol hamisabel al Yerushalayim, zeicha v'roya b'simchaso. But if you're not misabel Yerushalayim, then you won't see simchaso. So since these people were not nisabel ar churban Yerushalayim, so they were not zeicha to see the sos. Rather, their city was destroyed. Okay, now the Gemara goes back to the third story that Rabbi Yochanan mentioned. If you remember, we said first about Kamso Bar Kamsa, Chorvi Yerushalayim. Then we said that the story of the Tarnagel and Tarnagelis toward Malka was destroyed. And now we stated earlier that Ashoka did Ispak Charev Beitar, that Beitar was destroyed on account of a shaft from a carriage. Now what happened? To have a Nehigo ki have a Misyal Genuka, Shosli Arza. Now, in Beitar, they had a custom that when a boy was born, they would plant a cedar tree, and Yonoikta Shoslu Tur Renisa. And when there was a girl that was born, they would plant this cypress tree. You have a Minaspi. And when they would later marry each other, they would cut down these trees and construct a chuppah for them with these branches. One day, the emperor's daughter passed there, and her carriage broke. So what happened? The attendants chopped down this tree from amongst those trees and brought it to her. So what happened? So the people of Beitar came and they started to beat them. Are you talking? You're taking away you're taking stuff that resembles such a Hidaka custom. Also from the Kesar, so they came to the Kesar and they said, that the Gittin have rebelled against you. So Asuelayu, the emperor, then came against them in war. So that was a story of Ashoka the Rispa Kachar of Beitar, that because on the shaft of the carriage, her carriage broke. They got so upset that they started a wage of war, and then Caesar said he's going to destroy them. Now, it was in connection with the war that the Chacham said the following: Goda Bachari Af Kol Keren Yisrael. He has cut off in his fierce anger all the horns of Yisrael. He says that these are the 80,000 officers who battled, who came to Beitar B'Shah when they came into Beitar when the enemy took it and killed men. Until there was so much blood that it flowed into the Great Sea. Perhaps you're going to say that the sea was very close. So you should know the Chayka was actually a mile away. Tanya was talking about Bryce, Blazer Gadol says, are two rivers in the Yodayim, Echad Meshech Vahilech, Echad Meshech Vahilech. One flowing one way and one flowing the other way. And the Chacham estimated that in the aftermath of this war, these rivers were filled with 2 parts water to 1 part blood. Masisatana was taught in a brisa. Sheva shanim batzru goyim es karmeim midam shel Yisrael. It was taught in a brisa for 7 years. The goyim harvested their vineyards that had been soaked with the blood of the Eden without requiring any fertilizer. There's so much blood. There's so many Eden that got killed. Now, the Behemshech to describe now the thousands of Eden that got killed by the Romans in Turmalka and in Beitar, the Gemara now tells over the what happened by Beis Yishin. The Eden were pasha shechted. Now, the Gemara says, Amar B'chir Bar Avin says, Amar B'Shua ben Karcha says, Sochli Zokin Echad Ma'anshi Yerushalayim. He says, an old man from amongst the inhabitants of Yerushalayim told me, Bibika Horag Nuvuzaryon Rav Tabochim Masayim V'achas Asri Riboy. He says that in the valley, so what happened? Yeshua ben Karcha says, and he said, again, Amar B'chir B'Avin, Yeshua ben Karcha said that Sochli Zokin, that a Zokin told me, and he said that in this Bika Nuvuzaryon, the captain of the guard of Bavel of Nebuchadnezzar killed 211,000 people. Sorry, 2,100,000, not 2,110,000 people. And in Yerushalayim, they killed 940,000 Yidden. And to the blood of the victims flowed and touched the blood of Zechariah to fulfill what it says, and blood touches blood. Now, the Gemara tells, Zechariah. Nuvuzaryan found the blood of Zechariah. The Hevekom Martich V'Solik, it was boiling on the ground of the Beis Hamikdash. So Omar Nuvuzaryan tells the Kohanim, my high, what's going on over there? So they didn't want to tell him the truth. They said, Dam Zvachim, this is blood of Karbonis that spilled over here. So what happened? Aiti Demate, Nuvuzaryan brought blood of a behemoth, and he started comparing this blood to the other blood, and they were not similar. So Amr he said like this: if you're going to tell me the truth, Mutav, who it is, then good. Or he said, I'm going to burn you with combs. So Amr the Kohanim said, my name Allah. What can we tell you? Navi have a bun. We had a Navi to have a Kameichech law and bin Maya. We had a Navi used to tell us over Milah Shemaya that we're being over mitzvahs of Teda. And Kaminon Ilavi V'Katlin Lei. So we got up and we killed this Navi. And there's many years already that his blood is not settled. So I'm who Nebuzarian said, "I know I'm I am going to be Mephias. I am going to take revenge on the people that killed that killed the Navi." So what happened? They brought Kotli Lovi. So they brought the Dayanim and they killed the Dayanim on what the fact that they killed Zechariah Navi and Vilanoch, and he wasn't sad, he wasn't happy. He brought Bachurim Sulis, he killed them, and Vilanoch, he wasn't happy. Beis Rabon Lovi until the murder got so much, like 94,000 nefashis that we said before, or 940,000 nefashis, and loinoch amalei. So the Verzarian said, Zechariah tevim shebehem ibatim nechaloch te'evdinu lekula. If you want, I'll destroy everybody because amalei hachi. Like the Verzarian said, and then what happened was no, he come down. The Ishite at that time, he did tshuva. The Zion decided he wants to do tshuva. Why? Because he said, "Ma im al nefesh achas." If madach one nefesh zechariah, kach there was such a chaymer, so many Yidden died because of it. Ahu gavra. So he says this person himself, the kotel kohani nishmasin, who killed so many neshamas, halachas kama kama. How much more so is my punishment severe? So what happened? Orak the Zion when ran away, and Ozol shoder star pirtosa bebesa. He went and he wrote a tzavah in his house. And what happened was he converted to Yiddishkeit. Now, because we mentioned things about the gear, so now the Gemara is going to explain different people who were Gittin, Emes or not. So Tana was Tana Bryce, Naaman, Ger, Teshuvah, Naaman, he was not, he just fulfilled the Sheva Mitzvah in Ech. The Wuzarian, who was a Ger Tzedek, he was a real convert. He accepted the 630 mitzvahs. Mipnei Bonov Mibnei Banav Shel Haman Limdu Teda b'Bnei Brak, that the children of Haman and Russia they learned Teda in Bnei Brak. Mibnei Banav Shel Sisra, the children of Sisra Limdu Tenekas B'Yushalayim taught Tenekas Yerushalayim. Mibnei Banav Shel Sanchedev, and the children of Sanchedev Limdu Teda b'Ram, they taught Teda b'Ram. Now, Man Inun, who is the children of Sanchedev that taught Teda b'Ram? Shmai v'Avtalion. This was the famous Shmai in Avtalion. This is what it says in regards to the nevuah of the Churban Yerushalayim. It says, "Asati estamam al tzchiach sala, the vilti he koses." The pasuk is referring to the blood of the Navi Zechariah, that it was standing on the floor of the Beis Hamikdash, and it was not being absorbed in order to take revenge. Now, Torah tells over that when Yaakov Avinu made like he is like Esav, so Yitzchak said, "Hakol kol Yaakov, vayidayim idei Esav." He says the voice is like Yaakov, vayidayim, and your hands feel like Esav. Now, so the Gemara learns out that that this is going on in a nevuah that the Zera Yaakov is going to fall in the hands of Esav, which Esav is Malchus Edom, which is Romi. Malchus Edom, Rome, comes from Esav. So he says this: Hakol kol Yaakov vayidayim idei Esav. What does that mean? Hakol zeh, the cry of the Yidden is Andruyunus Kesar. So it's going on the kol is that the Yidden are crying on Andruyunus Kesar Shaharag Alexander Shamatzrayim Shishim Riboy, which he in Alexander Yerushalayim he killed 600,000 Yidden. Shishim Riboy, which is basically 1.2 million Yidden. Flying Kates Mitzrayim. So that's what it means kol. Kol Yaakov. What does it mean kol Yaakov? Aspionis Kesar Shaharag B'krach Beisa Arba Meis Riboy. This is going on Aspionis, who killed 4 million Yidden. And some people say Arba Salah from Riboy was 40 million Yidden. Now, by Daim the Esav Zum Mechamas Arsha, this refers to Mechama of Rome. Shechriva as Beisena B'Surface Echlina B'Higili Sanu Me'artino. Another explanation. Hakol Yaakov. What does that mean? Ein lecha tefillah sheme'elas she'ein bo mizar Yaakov. The davening doesn't help unless you have somebody from Zerah of Yaakov. Daim de Esav. What does it mean? Ein lecha mechama she'neitzachas she'ein bo mizar Esav. And also that you no war grants victory unless some members of Esav has been a part of it. Now, V'hainu Damar. Now the Gemara goes back. Okay, it's Machlekes Rashi and the Marsha how to learn, but let's learn. It's going back now on what we said in Daf Vavam and Aleph on Bar Kamso that he caused the Churban of Beis. So the Gemara says, "V'hainu Damar Rabbi Elazar." This is what Rabbi Elazar said in regards to Eve. B'sheit Loshen Tichava. What does that mean? B'sheit Loshen Tichava. B'chidchudei Loshen Tichava. What does it mean? You shall hide from the scourge of the tongue. You shall need to hide on account of the fights that is caused by the tongue. I'll read this and then Rav. What does the pasuk mean by saying al naris bubble shom mishavna gam bechinu zachinu asioin? So what it means by the rivers of Bavel. There we sat down and wept when he remembered Sioin. Lama shehid Hakadosh Baruch Hu leDavid churban bayis rishon churban bayis sheni. Teaches us that the Eibishter showed David the destruction of the first Beis Hamikdash and the destruction of the second Beis Hamikdash. And what he David HaMelech do? He went ahead and he composed Sefer Tehillim. Now, Churban Bayis Dishain. Where do you see about the Churban Bayis Dishain? Shneimar says on Aris Bavel Shem Yisham Legam Bechina. It says by the rivers of the Bavel there we sat and wept. Now these psukim, the psukim from Aleph Vav, describe the Gullus Bavel, which came mainly of the Churban Bayis Dishain. And also by Sheni, the Eibishter showed him by Sheni, the Ksiv, as the pasuk says, Zechar Hashem livni Edom, Estem Shalayim Ha'imnu Oru Adi Seid Bo. That he says, remember Hashem against the children of Edom, the day of Yerushalayim. They said, raise it to its very foundation. And the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. The second Beis Sheni was destroyed by the Romans, who are the children of Edom. Now, it says in Tehillim, pasuk says, Ki olecha haragnu kol hayim. This pasuk is speaking about people who give themselves over to Kedushas Hashem. And the Gemara is going to give 5 different examples what happened in Bisman Churban Beis. Amar Yehuda Amar Shmuel v'itema Rav Ami Amar Lav Masnisatana. So he says like this: Maisa Ba'arba Meis Ladim V'Ladi Shenishbu. There was a Maisa that 400 boys and girls were taken as captives for the purpose of znus. Egishu ba'asma lamahim mispakshim Amar imon tevim bayam anu boin l'chaylam haba. So the children sensed on their own what they were expected to do, and they said, if we commit suicide and drown in the city, will we go in Elam Haba? So Darsh Lahan Gadol Shabahem. So the greatest one Darshan said, Amar Adoni mi Bashan Ashem Ashem Tzules Yom. He said that Hashem, I will bring back from Bashan, I will bring them back from the depths of the sea. So he said, Mi Bashan Ashav Ibn Shnei Aryeh. So what does that mean? That I will bring back from Bashan from between the teeth of the lion. Bashan Ashav Mi Ben Shnei Aryeh. Ashav Mitzulas Yom. What does it mean? I will bring them back from the depths of the sea. What does it mean? Elu Shetevim Bayom. It's referring to those who drown in the sea for the sake of heaven. Kiv and Shishamu Yelav this Kach. So once the girls heard this, Kavsu Kulam Naflu Techiyam, they all leaped, and fell into the sea. Nasu Ladim Kavachim Ratzmam. So the boys then drew a Kavachim with regard to themselves and said, Ma Halalo Shadakan Lakach Kach Anu Shaindakan Lakinakach Alachas Kama Kama. They said, if these girls from whom Bia with men is their natural way act in such a manner, and they had themselves never they didn't do this, then we whom Mishkav Zachar is not our natural way, how much more so we should conduct ourselves likewise. And what happened was Afim Kafsul Techiyam, they too went into the river. The pasuk says, as for the sake we are killed all the day long. We are reckoned as sheep for the slaughter. Rabbi Yehuda says that this pasuk is going on Chan and Shiva Manel. They brought the first son in front of the Kesar. Amalei. So the Anshe Kesar told them, Plach Lavidazara, go and serve Vidazara. So Amalahu, the son said, Kosabateda, Nech Hashem Lekechat, says, I'm Hashem your God. So what happened? Apku v'katlu, they took him out and they killed him. Actually, the Kesar, they brought the second son by the Kesar. Amalei, he said, Plach Lavidazkacham, go and serve Vidazara. Amalahu, he said, Kosabateda, the Pasuk Ter says, La Yilacha Lekimachim Alpanai. So what happened? They went ahead and they killed him. They brought now the third son, and Amrle, they said to him, go serve another Zara. Amrle, who he said, the pasuk says, so they killed him. They brought the fourth son, Amrle, they said, serve with the Zara. Amrle, he said, they killed him again. They brought the fifth son, Amrle, he can't. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Akiva Katu, they killed him. Asuli Idach. So now the sixth son came. They said, "Plach Labis Chacham, go and serve the Zar." Amalu, he said, "Kasabateh." The pasuk says, "V'yadayta Yom Hashem V'Yisrael Levavecha Hashem Hu Elikim Hashemayim Ma'al V'Aretz Mitachas Einid." And then Akina V'Katu, they killed him. Asuli Idach. They brought the seventh son. Amalu, they said, "Plach Labis Chacham, serve the Zar." Amalu, he said, "Kasabateh as Hashem He Marta." Hashem told us he's not going to exchange us with anybody else. That we're not going to start exchange Hashem for any other god. And also he promised us that he'll never ever switch us with another nation. So the Kesha said, I'm going to throw my signet ring in front of you, and just bow down to pick it up. So people will think that that you're accepting the shilton of the king, and just make like you're doing it, even if you don't mean it. The seventh son refused, and Amar Le told the Kesar, Chaval alach Kesar, Chaval alach Kesar, Chaval, you're wasting your time. If you're worried about yourself, how much more so Hashem? They took him out and they killed him. So the mother said to the Kesar, bring me to him so I may kiss him. When they brought him to him, he told, she said, I'm sorry, I said to my sons, tell Avram Avinu, you were on the Akedah and you had to bring one mizbech, one korban. And I had to bring 7 sons. They say that Chana and Shiva Bana, they're buried in Tzvas. Afi also the Gag went off from the Mesa, and then she went up and she jumped from the roof. And Yasa the Baskel went out and said, Ema Bonim Semicha. Shua ben Levi Amar Shua says, Zu Mila. This refers to Mila, Shnita B'Shmini, which was given on the 7th day. Okay, Shem Shokish Amar, Elu Tamid Chachamim. This refers to the Tamid Chachamim, Shemar and Hilchei Shchita Basman, that they demonstrate the halachas of shchita themselves, that they demonstrate on their own bodies how shchita should be performed, and they occasionally injure themselves. A person may demonstrate anything using himself to illustrate it, except for shchita and bia. Now, Rav Nachman basically said these people in the pasuk are Tamid Chacham who killed himself over the words of Torah. Like he said, the words of the Torah are only mekuyim, they only endure for one who kills himself over them. As it says, this is the Torah when a man dies in oil. So then he says that Arbaim Sok Tzutzit Tefillin Nutzu B'Rosh Harugi. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, we'll stop over here. We'll start a new thing. Okay, have a good night.